Hello, Money Nation. Welcome to our safe space for all things money and to episode 9 in season 3 of the TheHot Money Talks podcast. If you are just joining the community for the first time, let me do a little introduction. My name is Christine Ishampepe, the money mechanic, and I help you fix your finances. My mission is to equip African millennials and Gen Zs with adequate financial literacy, advice, and strategy so they can journey to financial freedom and live life purposefully on their own terms and to the fullest, because money is no more a barrier. I want you to live your best life. The TheHot Money Talks podcast is a series of honest, open, and transparent money conversations that will guide you on your journey to financial freedom. Here on the podcast, we believe 100% that financial freedom is possible with the right set of knowledge, the right amount of time, and the right circle of people. Thank you for being here. In our last episode, we dealt with part 2 of the topic of financial abuse, and we focused on financial abuse in romantic relationships. If you missed that episode, you know what to do. Today, we are going to talk about how to cultivate discipline with your money. Today's gist is a deep one. We want to talk about discipline. Yes, that thing that we love to hate but can't live without, especially when it comes to our money. Now, whether you are a 90s kid, shout out to millennials, or a Gen Z creative that is trying to just build your brand, you've probably told yourself 1,000 times this year that I will save tomorrow, I will save next month. But how often do you actually follow through with that resolution? Let's change that. Now, let's start by talking about why money discipline even matters. And we'll begin with a very profound thought. Here goes. Discipline is the greatest form of self-love. Why? Because it shows that you care enough about your future to hold yourself accountable and do the difficult things now. You see, it's easy to spend anyhow when you're thinking short term, but true self-love is not just about now. It's not just about the soft life that you enjoy now. It's choosing what is best for your future self, even when it is hard. A thought leader that I absolutely respect and love to listen to so much is Jim Rohn. And he says, and I quote, "Discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire burning long after the initial excitement has waned." End of quote. So when the motivation to save or to invest is gone, when you see your friends flexing, they're splurging, and you feel like you're missing out, remember that discipline is what keeps you on track. You see, in Nigeria today, inflation is doing press up. Yes, everything is expensive. Data, food, transportation. And so if you're not intentional about how you manage your money, you keep earning and still be broke by the middle of the month. That's if you even survive till the middle of the month. So money discipline isn't about suffering or denying yourself enjoyment. It's really about control. Being in a position where you can tell your money where you want it to go instead of wondering where it went, right? And a strategy that helps you to tell your money where to go is budgeting. All right, let's talk about the habits that we need to break, right? If we must, apply discipline with our money. Now, let's be real. Some of us are sabotaging our financial goals and we call it enjoyment in quotes. So we find ourselves overspending on the soft life. Now, nobody is saying that enjoyment is bad. We all love enjoyment. But if your current spending on top of enjoyment is robbing your future self, then it's no more luxury. It's actually sabotage, right? I know that it is fun to say, oh, YOLO, you only live once and all of that. Yes, you only live once, right? But you have a whole lifetime ahead of you, right? And it is very important that you are not just conscious about your current enjoyment, but that you're futuristic in your thinking. And then another habit that we need to break is the habit of living for the gram. So you're trying to keep up, your online presence, right? And trying to put up a front and show a life that isn't yours. Trying to keep a fake life up online will only leave you broke offline, right? And many of even the flashy lifestyles that we see and we envy and longer throats they worry us, some of them are built on debt. Yes. So you must understand that you're not in a competition with anyone. It is better that you are debt free and you are living your life jeje jeje jeje, as the song says, easy jeje, take it slow. That is life. Take it jeje. You don't need to compare yourself with anyone or try to keep up with some societal standards when you know you cannot comfortably and reasonably avoid it. If you want to live a certain kind of lifestyle, right, and you cannot afford it, then work towards being able to afford it. Now, a third habit that we need to break if we must be disciplined with our money is the habit of not tracking your money. So if you don't know where your money goes, how do you expect to know how to control it? That's like driving blindfolded, right? So guys, you cannot want the harvest without sowing the seed and doing the work to cultivate the crop. Financial peace, financial independence, financial freedom, however you call it, however you look at it, it takes work. And that work is rooted in discipline. So how do we build discipline? And yes, you can actually build discipline. So how do you build discipline? Before I share a couple of tips on how you can build discipline, the good news is that nobody is born disciplined. I think that should make you calm down, right? Discipline is a skill. And like any skill, it can be built, it can be developed, and it can be mastered. So here's some practical steps to help you build discipline around your money. Number 1, always create a money plan, aka a budget, right? So I like to say that budgeting is actually your superpower. So don't think about budgeting as a restriction. Don't think about budgeting as punishment. Think of it as a permission slip. Yes, a permission slip that you're giving your money a job to do. So I believe and I strongly advocate for the fact that a budget puts you in a position of control over your finances, so that from the very, very onset, you're able to tell your money where you want it to go, and you don't have to keep wondering, but I had 5k yesterday, I had 20k yesterday, I had 500k yesterday, and I can't account for it, right? And then also, having a money plan or using a budget, right, makes you more conscious about your spending. So you know that when you want to create a budget, you need to be able to sit down and actually look at what you're writing. And I feel like in those moments that you just spend, thinking about what you want to spend your money on, there's just a reality check that comes in, because now the money is before you, right? And your list of needs and wants are before you. And it now becomes really the survival of the fittest, right? In the sense that you know that your needs must always come before your wants, right? But if you do not use a budget, you may get carried away and end up spending more on your wants than on your needs. So always create a money plan, no matter the amount. 10 million naira, 5 million naira, 100,000, 5,000, 1,000. Make sure that you have a plan for your money. Secondly, you can use a budgeting strategy that works for you. So there are many different budgeting strategies. You have the 50, 30, 20 rule. You have the 70, 20, 10 rule. You have the zero budgeting method. Shall look for one that works for you and use it, right? And like I would always say, right, there's no hard and fast rule to which budgeting rule, a person must use. What I always encourage is learn about the different budgeting styles that we have and then tweak it, right, to your life, tweak it to your circumstances, tweak it to your income, right? For example, freelancers or business owners, could say, the 50, 30, 20 rule does not really work for me. I prefer the zero budgeting method, right? Where I can just appoint, I can just appoint items to the amounts that I have down to zero, right? Why? Because many times they're like, okay, my income does not come, in a steady amount, and so using the 50-30-20 rule might not work for me and all of that. Funny how, on the other hand, you can still find a way to make it work for you even if you are not a stable salary earner. But the point is, understand the different budgeting strategies, and that's not what today's episode is about. Maybe I'll do a different episode on that. But find a budgeting strategy that works for you, tweak it to your life, and most importantly, just make sure you have a structure for your finances and how you spend it. A third way to build discipline is to automate your savings. So don't wait for willpower. Yes, so even the Bible says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Don't wait for willpower. Just allow your bank or your fintech app do the work for you. Automate it. That is all. So that they just do the work for you. Sometimes I always make this joke, and I'm a PiggyVest user, right? And I'm just like, anytime I see a debit alert from PiggyVest, it's a rude shock to me, because I'm just like, really? But then when I pause to think about it, I'm like, they're doing me a favor. I know that I'm going to be grateful for these debit alerts that I'm seeing later down the line. So automate your savings. If you don't think that you are disciplined enough to keep up with a saving structure and manually, save the money, then automate your savings. Also, set clear goals. Now, you're more likely to stay disciplined when you know what you're working towards, right? Whether you want to start a business, you want to pay your rent, without stressing too much, or you want to japa, whatever your goals are, shall make sure that your goals are very, very clear, right? And again, today's episode isn't about, setting goals, but if you go back to a couple of previous episodes, I think there was an episode where we talked about, smarter goals. And that is the best way to set goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, goals that you evaluate, and goals that you reward. That is the smarter system of setting goals, and that is how clear your financial goals should be. I believe that a goal is not considered a financial goal if there's no figure attached to it, yes. So saying I want to save this year is not a goal. Until I hear you say I want to save X amount this year, then I'm like, okay, fine. Now that is a financial goal that we can work towards. And finally, stay accountable, right? Stay accountable. And, we talked about automating savings. That's one way to stay accountable. You can also be a part of a network of people, right, who are also on the same path as you, and you guys are keeping each other accountable. You're training each other on, you're motivating yourself. You can also have a coach like the Money Mechanic to help you stay accountable with your financial goals. When you stay accountable, right, whether using people or systems, and you know that, these guys are they're like the watchdogs over me right now, you realize that you show up better. Remember that discipline is reinforced by the small positive actions that you take consistently, right? So, for example, you may say, saving 2K every week is just so small, I beg. But over time, it becomes a very substantial amount of money. And that consistency builds a confidence in you. And that confidence, in turn, builds momentum. So let's talk about motivation versus discipline, right? We have to be honest that motivation alone cannot be trusted. Because on some days, you feel like saving. On some days, you don't feel like saving. Some months, you're pumped, you're excited, you're motivated. But other times, you're just tired of adulting. That is where discipline steps in. Motivation may get you started, but it is discipline that keeps you going. So stop waiting to feel ready. Just start small. Start where you are. Start with, if it's 1,000 naira you have, just start. And then let discipline carry you when the vibes are not vibing. All right, Money Nation, that's it for today's episode on Hot Money Talks. Let this be a reminder that discipline isn't punishment, it's your power. It's the way that you take control of your future, one wise choice at a time. So you know what? Go ahead and love yourself enough to do the hard things now so that your future self can chill with ease. Would you like to share your experiences or thoughts on this topic? Let's continue the conversation in the comments, or you can send me an email at talktothemoneymechanic@gmail.com. Thanks for staying tuned. family. If this episode hit home, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your squad, and leave me a review in the comment section of this podcast so that others can see your endorsement and join the community of listeners who enjoy this podcast. If you have any burning questions that you'd like me to answer on the podcast, please shoot me an email via talktothemoneymechanic@gmail.com and let me know your dilemma. Don't forget that new episodes of the Hot Money Talks podcast drop every Saturday, and you can listen to them on your favorite podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the show on either of these platforms so that you are notified whenever an episode is released. Recommendations are powerful, so please tell your friends and your family about this podcast so we can go on this journey together. To connect with me on other platforms, do well to follow The Money Mechanic at The Money Mechanic page on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I hope most importantly that you will take action on your finances today. Until next time, I'm sending you love, light, and a sprinkle of money in between.